Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight. I think we have a wonderful show for you. We have 7 really skilled representatives from the solar industry that will be presenting to you. Before we get into our panel, I'd like to give you about a 15-minute overview kind of the solar industry, what's happening in a broader context, kind of where we think Alberta is heading with all of this. So let's see. So if you kind of look at more advanced markets, because Alberta is a bit behind a lot of other countries in the world, but let's look at the United States, for example. And the question would be, what is going in now for new electrical generation capacity? And it was particularly interesting in the first quarter of 2016. This is what went in. It was 99% renewables. Zero coal, zero oil, zero nuclear, zero waste heat, a little bit of natural gas, and a substantial amount of solar, wind, and solar in various forms. So 64% of the new generation actually was solar. This is because the prices are coming down on utility scale solar to the point where it really can actually compete. So we're going to see that trend continue, and economics is going to be a big player in the whole growth. So if you look at what's happening worldwide in terms of renewable energy employment, really the biggest employer is solar PV, so generating electricity from the sun. And there's also solar heating and cooling in there, providing jobs, and also what's called at the bottom CSP, which is concentrated solar power, which is generating heat from the sun to generate electricity. So, all right. So anyway, this gives you a sense of where the jobs are if you're looking at the renewable energy sector, which is a very fast-growing sector. So solar PV really rocks. I mean, there were, on a worldwide level, there were 10 essentially million jobs in the renewable energy industry, and about 3 million of those were actually in the photovoltaic industry. So, but further than that, it's really important to acknowledge some of the other green industries that are going on. And if you look at sort of a pie chart of the workers in the United States, the massive chunk in there is energy efficiency. So solar is a part of the puzzle. We've also got battery technology coming along. We've got transportation coming along. But energy efficiency is a major player in terms of a job creator. So in terms of jobs in the solar industry, there's a variety of them. We're going to kind of put a lot of emphasis tonight on electricity simply because there's a lot of growth and a lot of jobs available in solar electricity, and there's grant programs in Alberta to encourage it. But there's other aspects of solar as well, which I hope our panelists will shed some light on. There's passive solar design, creating buildings that 50% of their heat is permanently supplied by solar. There's solar water pumping. There's a number of different other aspects to solar, but these are some of the jobs in the industry. There's, of course, installers. There's designers and engineers that design these systems. There's some degree, especially on the utility solar farms, iron and steel work to create the rackings for these things. There's system commissioning that gets to be much more prevalent as a job as the systems get larger, and testing and maintenance, operations and maintenance on these things. And just construction managers for especially the larger projects. Safety managers, there's some degree of manufacturing, just a bit in Alberta, not much, but there's the potential for more. And there's also, of course, the value chain with this distribution networks and its marketing. So there's opportunity for sales. There's also research, certainly, going on, and developing new products. And also there's a crying need in Alberta for good training programs as this industry grows very quickly. So those are just a few of the jobs that are out there. I want to draw your attention to the Solar Providers Directory. This is a resource for you that we've got on our website. And it lists companies in Alberta that are in the solar business. Right now, that says 145. That was this afternoon. By tonight, there were 151. So this is all growing very quickly. Anyway, in that directory, you can see the solar businesses, and you can get information about them. You can there's some search filters on there. You can search by the services they offer, say if they do off-grid systems or solar water pumping, or their service area. If you have a small town in Alberta, you want to know who's willing to serve you with a solar system there. You can look at the service areas, and you can compare years in business, number of systems installed, and a lot of this stuff is quite important because Alberta's solar industry actually has been around quite a while. There's probably companies in Alberta that have been in business for 20 years, maybe 25 years, just a few of them. But what we're seeing more recently is just a massive influx of new companies starting up, electrical contractors wanting to get into the action. So we've set up this directory in part so that you can do research about who you're hiring. Also you can filter for products they offer. You can buy equipment in that way, whether they're selling retail or wholesale, and search by credentials as well. So it's designed to provide you with a lot of information. And just to give you a sense of what's been happening in terms of growth, so in 2014, on our solar providers list, there were 34 companies, and it just grew and grew every year. As of a week ago, there were 195. I got to explain this part. And now there's 145. So what happened there is that the three grant programs in Alberta, the residential and commercial solar program, the indigenous solar program, and the farmers solar program, all have been looking at a way to sort of verify who's qualified as an installer, okay? And that's actually very difficult to do in Alberta because we don't have a specific solar installer credential in Alberta, or a license, I would say. Like in California, there's a solar contractor's license. So we're hoping all of that will evolve. But what they did do was they asked us to develop a code of conduct for the solar industry. So we developed a 13-page code of conduct, and we asked everyone in the industry to sign it. And we gave them a deadline, a Friday. So as of Monday, not everybody had done it. So it dropped to 145. Hear that, all you solar businesses in the room? So anyway, but things are changing. As I said, it went back up to 151 about an hour ago. So everybody's coming in. But it's great to have some standards in the industry. But just to also give you a sense of this, we think there's about 220 solar businesses in Alberta. So it's very interesting. So who are these companies and what are they up to? So if you search by services provided, you'll see, and these are the photovoltaic installer portion of the directory that we're looking at. So 98% of them are doing installation, design, and maintenance, pretty much. Half of them are saying they do off-grid systems, for example. The utility scale solar farms, about a third of them are saying they're capable of doing that. 2/3 of them offer equipment sales, and they also provide energy audits. A little bit of equipment manufacturing, and sometimes solar water pumping. So you can get a sense of some of the jobs within what's being offered by these companies. But also, if you search by years in business, 100 of these businesses are about a year old. So you have to factor that in, right? And if you look at the systems that have been installed, 8 companies say they've done over 151, and about 24 say they haven't done any. So anyway, this is the state of the industry in Alberta, growing quickly and may have some growing pains. So just find out who you're hiring. If you look at where the locations of the companies are, this is really interesting. The business model in the solar industry right now in Alberta is small. So a lot of these are really small companies, may even sometimes be a single electrician. It may be a crew of 3. I think the largest solar companies may have 30 people seasonally. So this is kind of what we've got right now. It's very different than what's happening, say, in Ontario, where there's a lot of very large companies. But it's kind of neat. I mean, you can see it's dispersed all over the province. There's towns in there that probably you haven't heard of. I haven't. And as you can see, Calgary's the king here. It's got 55 companies in Calgary, and Edmonton's close second. So we also are getting some companies out of the province that are in the directory, some of them that are coming into the province to do work. So within that directory, it's really an accurate expression of what's been going on in Alberta, okay? Small companies, small jobs, very dedicated people usually, because this hasn't been a gigantic money maker historically. We've been a province where the government has never supported the industry at all up until recently. So anybody who's been in the industry for a while has got to be pretty dedicated and not necessarily rich yet. But stick around. So anyway, so these are the companies that are operating in Alberta at this point. And these are the ones doing the rooftop installations on houses, barns, communities. But there's a whole nother level of solar development, which is the utility scale. And these are the larger, more centralized solar farms that tap into the distribution and transmission grid, often higher voltage. And those are coming as well. So let's take a look at what's probably coming our direction. So the smaller companies in Alberta, these jobs are designated MicroGen. Microgeneration law covers the interconnections for systems that are designed to generate as much energy as you use. So it would be for a house or for a business. You can have MicroGen systems on up to 5 megawatts, so it could be extremely large business. But so these are the smaller, more spread out rooftop kind of systems often. So we've got 20 megawatts at this point. So just to give you a perspective, it took us 30 years to get 20 megawatts. And China last year put in 2,000 times that in 1 year. So we're chugging along, but we have big plans. So the goal for 2020, which is 2 years away, is 65 megawatts. So that's quite a big leap. It wouldn't surprise me if we can get there, actually, with all the projects in the wings. So that's the MicroGen level. And there's also the distributed gen. So those are the utility scale solar farms. So we don't have any in Alberta yet. So the largest systems we have is a 2 megawatt system in Bassano, Alberta, but that's actually been under the MicroGen law. So what's fascinating is to look at the connection queue of the Alberta Electric System Operator, AESO. So AESO is tasked with planning electrical generation build out in the province, trying to predict growth, what economic growth is doing, what population growth is doing, what costs are going to be doing. I mean, it's almost an impossible job, right? But that's their job. And so to do that, they have what's called a connection queue. And so they're having businesses that have proposals to put in new generation for electricity in Alberta enter the connection queue. So these are companies that have done the business plan. They say, yeah, we think we can make it work. We want to be in the queue. We want you to choose us to develop a large utility intertie solar system. Anyway, if you add up the ones in the connection queue, it's over 3 gigawatts of generating capacity. So you can see there's a massive opportunity there. Not all of those businesses in the connection queue will be chosen, we imagine, but nevertheless, there's kind of two statements implicit in all of that. One is really smart people have been studying Alberta and saying there is a real economic opportunity here. Our investors are interested. We're ready to rock. Secondly, we're going to be getting a lot of these. I think we can also have that takeaway as well, because Alberta government is very committed to developing large numbers of renewable energy as quickly as possible. Anyway, so who are these companies? Who are the big companies that are interested? So this is a list of them. So what we've got here, we've actually got 16 companies in total, and they're talking about 66 projects. So these are massive projects. Remember, Alberta took 30 years to get 20 megawatts, right? Okay, so there's only one project in there that's less than 20 megawatts. But these are the companies. This is where their head offices are. I did all this research. So a lot of this is out of the province money. A lot of these are large project developers and utilities, often with a global reach, that are interested in developing solar farms here. So that just gives you a sense of that. Now, in terms of jobs, there's a pretty, okay.
What percent do you think of the 3,085 will get developed?
What percent? I really don't know. I mean, maybe someone in the room has a better idea than that than I do, but I'm not sure, really. It's been difficult making accurate predictions. So anyway, we thought peak oil was going to be happening about now. So anyway, and we also don't know what happens when there's another election, right? Okay, so a lot of question marks out there. But I think what we do know is that economics is going to rule. Even in the United States, where we've seen a total shift in government policy toward renewables and coal, the marketplace is speaking and is continuing to generate jobs in the renewables industry at a very fast pace. So anyway, so in terms of education and training, I'm going to do my best to list the opportunities that you have here in Alberta. I may have missed a few. If you think of others, let me know. But there's a number of courses that you can take on up to like a 2-year diploma, down to a several-hour manufacturer's course offered by a distributor. So these are some of them. By the way, all of this PowerPoint will be on our website for you to access later if you want to. And hopefully, assuming our live broadcast is working, we'll have it up on Facebook as well. Okay, we got the thumbs up. That means the whole world is watching. Good. So anyway, we've got the NAIT, Alternative Energy Technologist program. And that program is, yay, that program is probably a few graduates out there, even a professor or two, I think. Anyway, that program is a 2-year diploma program, and it's very broad. It's not just solar. It covers wind, hydro, fuel cells, solar thermal, biomass, a number of other things. Very complete, comprehensive, substantial course. And they're expanding it so that they can handle more students, because there's been a tremendous pressure for people to enroll. So that's available. Lakeland College has a renewable energy conservation program, which is both a diploma program and a certificate program. In other words, you can do the program for 2 years, and that program is also fairly broad. It covers a lot of technologies and energy efficiency. But you can also pick and choose courses. So if you're just interested in photovoltaics, you can take, I think they have either 2 or 3 specific photovoltaic courses. I think it's 2 PV courses plus a codes course. So you can pick and choose those, and a lot of Lakeland's offerings are online. So that's an option for you. SAIT has a solar PV introduction and applications class, which they offer occasionally. It's, let's see, I think it's a 2-day class, I believe. No? Correction? 2-week class, okay. Also sponsored by SEA. Okay. Excellent. All right, got a graduate. So anyway, so that's available in Calgary. IBEW has a couple of courses. They have a solar panel 2-day class available. These are for union electricians. The Solar Energy Society of Alberta has several classes. Our sort of primary class is solar PV design and modeling. That's something we've been offering for 8 years. Designed it really well. It actually, the next class starts tomorrow, so if you're interested in that, I would suggest you sign up really quickly. The back desk, yeah.
I think maybe a bit of a correction there. The course I took there at SAIT was over 2 weeks there. It was 4 hours on Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday. Over 2 weeks.
Okay.
I think they're condensing the cool courses to a 2 course.
Oh, okay, yeah. He was just clarifying that the SAIT course. It's not 14 days of class. Okay, righto. So we've also got, the Solar Society also has a number of other classes. We've got a battery-based photovoltaic class, which is a 21-hour course that really goes into the technology of storage. And we've got a class on contracts. So if you want to learn how to write contracts for your solar business, that's designed for that. And we're going to start up a class on solar economics so that installers can actually take this class, learn how to use the solar calculator that we've got, and do accurate predictions, hopefully, of economics. So there's a number of other companies that offer classes. Some of them are 5-day classes. So the nice thing about 5-day classes is they offer a hands-on component where you're actually doing the installation. GridWorks Energy Group is based here in Edmonton. They've been doing this for quite a while. Solar Training Academy, Canadian Solar Institute, and Stardust Solar all offer 5-day classes. I think all of those are in Calgary. Most of those are out of the province companies that come in and offer a class. Iron and Earth has done a few classes, especially with Indigenous communities. Women Building Futures has offered an electrical and solar energy basics class. And I think part of that was hands-on, I believe. So also there's a company based in Calgary called Light Up the World, and they do international projects. So if you're interested in learning about 12-volt systems, really small things for developing countries, it's a wonderful program they've got. And then you always have the option of doing online courses. I'll just drop this one in here because this is one a lot of people have taken. Solar Energy International, based in Colorado, offers some pretty nice online classes as well. So that gives you somewhat of a sense. I would say most people in the industry have just picked up information wherever they can and patched it all together. So anyway, so with that background, I would like to ask our panelists to come up here and let's get some deeper information about what it's like to be in the industry. So this is our panelists right here. So these wonderful people have offered to share with us their journey getting into the professions that they're in. These are wonderful professions that these people have. I think most of them would say they really like what they're doing, is my guess. We'll find out. Anyway, what I want to do is introduce each one and just ask a couple of questions, maybe 3 or 4 of each one, just to kind of bring them out and get a sense of what they're up to. So, and then after that, we'll open it up to everybody, and hopefully with these name tags you can see them and who they are. So starting with from left to right. Yeah, well, I don't know about that. So Alex Bukowski works for New Energy, and Alex is a 10-year industry veteran. He's the president and CEO of New Energy. New Energy is a business in the business of engineering, constructing, and maintaining building energy infrastructure across Alberta. Their work includes mechanical, electrical, solar, and other renewable energy systems. So New Energy is an example of a company that is broader than just solar. It's part of a mix that they offer. Their work from a humble 3-man startup at the Northern Alberta Business Incubator in St. Albert 10 years ago, they've grown to a 40-plus people, full-service renewable energy company. So they've done a lot of hiring in the last few years. And separate from day-to-day operations, Alex is also involved with building sustainable, large-scale, zero-carbon communities in the capacity of a development partner. So this is another aspect of the solar industry, these net-zero energy buildings and communities that are coming about. And a current project in Canada is the first net-zero district energy community right here in Westmount, which includes 16 residences and a church, which will have no net energy use over the course of a year. So, let's see, let me find my sheet here. Just wing it. It may come to that. Okay. So, first of all, give us just a sense of what you do every day. What is your, what is the position you have? What does it look like? What's a daily day look like? Just turn.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, you got it.
Right. If I'm talking too close, let me know, please. That's a very good question, Rob. I don't have a general job description. I don't think I've had one in 10 years yet. It's I'm a pretty fortunate human being. Kind of day-to-day stuff for me is, there's never been a same day in 10 years I've been in business, to be honest with you. It's been kind of like this, literally every day. You know, an average person might go to work and they might be, 9 to 5, do their day-to-day, kind of punch out and go home and forget about the business. Doesn't happen in sort of the world of business ownership. You're sort of 24 hours through 365 days a year. So in my day-to-day, it totally depends on the day. Like and my career has also progressed over the last 10 years. When we started, when you're a startup, you kind of do everything. You're the janitor, you're the guy signing checks, you're the guy hiring people, you're the guy doing installations, you're the guy doing, pretty much everything there is to do, because you can't afford anybody, you don't have any money, so you kind of start out and you shoestring it for a while. And then eventually, as you grow a business, you sort of have a chance to build your teams, and your responsibilities change. You have an opportunity to go out, develop business, sell ideas, bring ideas to life. So, yeah, my day-to-day sort of depends. It pretty much literally fluctuates by 20-minute increments, I bet you. So in some cases, I'm fortunate enough to be in projects, having a chance to meet a lot of amazing people, just doing really cool projects. Like Peter's Westmount job has been one of the most amazing, rewarding projects I've ever worked in 10 years. So having a chance to work, and be on site and talk to people that are actually doing the work is fascinating. Talk to people behind the scenes, have a chance to meet the clients and see what they do is pretty amazing. Then you also have sort of the good and the bad with it. You deal with clients, you deal with payables, collectibles, receivables, all of that stuff, right? So, yeah, like the list goes on, Rob.
Yeah. Small business, right?
Small business, yeah.
So what kind of training, what kind of preparation did you have for this? Or
pretty much none.
what was your life before? What was your life before this?
Technically on the books, like my background is commerce, so I came out of school of business, kind of financial background initially, but I never actually had a chance to practice in real life. I've been working since I was 14 years old, so my career in the industry has been, by the time I hit 22, I was pretty well endowed into construction and everything from concrete work, truck deliveries, working for the oil industry in whatever capacity, you name it. So, I've had my fair share of work experience and paying through school, but sort of when, as I sort of got older, I've been pretty fortunate to just sort of have a chance to learn everything on site. Like everything we've done in business has been literally just self-taught. We picked up ASHRAE books. We picked up information online at the time, whatever was available. CISA was a huge resource. So whatever I didn't know, you just basically become self-taught. You pick it up and you learn it. It's not, my philosophy has always been if somebody else could come up with the idea, chances are I could probably learn it as well. So I've, just been pretty much self-taught, and then from there I've been taking just industry training. So did my geothermal installation course actually with Lee, 10 years ago. And everything we've done has been literally just, self-taught, and from there you sort of pick it up. You make mistakes, you pay for it.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you don't pay enough to break yourself out of the business and still make it work.
I
So-
saw a lot of heads shaking on the panel here, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of self-made people here, probably.
Yeah, like,
Just
I mean,
not
it's-
uncommon in the industry, at least at this stage. So you guys have grown tremendously. I mean, you're at 40 employees.
Yeah, it varies kind of 35 to 50 depending on the time of
So
the year. And
what's the next year? Are you going to be hiring in the next 12 months?
like to think so, like to stay optimistic, but it's been a tough market. Like last probably 2 years in Alberta, regardless how you look at it, it's been pretty tough time in business. It's been our best years on the books and growth-wise, but it's been the toughest years for all kinds of reasons. The market's not really fully paying for the services that I think it requires. Generally, of course, unemployment is quite high, so I consider it to be a very tough place to do business right now. So for anybody that's starting out, if you are able to get out, this is the best time to start a business. We actually started this in the second recession, if you want to call it that, I guess. We started in 2007, right when the whole bubble was kind of happening. So when that was happening, it's the best time to start because you don't have any room for error. You're basically going to have to learn and succeed, or you go broke really quickly. So if you can make it now, yeah, you'd for sure be able to.
So the positions that you might be hiring for, how would you describe them?
We're a diversified builder, right? So we have seven sub-trades under our roof. So we typically hire, we hire electricians, plumbers. All of our solar installers are journeyman electricians, whether it's apprentices, journeymen, or masters. So we diversify as far as the solar installers are electrical trade installers as well. So we don't differentiate. They have a specialty in solar installations, and they go through NAIT's program as well. And we try to kind of provide a mix of training.
Yeah.
So we've been hiring a lot of NAIT students, a lot of Mr. Bukowski there. We've both brought him on board. They've actually been some of our most amazing people, greatest workers, greatest committed, most knowledgeable actually folks that we've hired yet. So the program, from NAIT, and not to be honest, is actually one of the best programs we have here. I don't think the industry kind of formally doesn't quite have that same level of bridge knowledge that NAIT does. So so to answer your question, definitely probably be hopefully more solar installers as the season picks up. There is seasonality to solar, as you all know, which is usually spring, summer, fall. So we'll see. It all depends on the projects, right? To be honest with you, Rob.
Well, thanks, Alex. That's great. So I'm going to move right on to Lee here. So Lee Senal he's worked in Canada's solar industry, energy industry for 3 years. He's the regional sales manager for HES PV, which is a large equipment distributor and PV engineering and design company. He works with solar installers across Canada to provide all types of PV system designs, equipment training, and sales advice. Previous to working at HES PV, Lee worked in construction management and business consulting. He has a bilingual Bachelor of Commerce degree from the University of Alberta. Am I saying everything correctly?
Yep.
I had to research him a little bit because he sent me a bio that was like 2 sentences, right? Anyway.
Try and keep it brief.
Modesty is one of his strengths. He's also a semi-professional lacrosse player. So, all right. So, is that true?
Yeah, I guess.
All right. See, I told you he's modest. So, anyway, tell us a little bit about your job position. What's your day look like?
Yeah, so my official title is Regional Sales Manager. I work with lots of installers, mostly focused in Alberta and Manitoba, but lots of new and experienced installers that are either just getting into the industry or they've been veterans, such as Alex, for 10 years. And we help them with new equipment that's coming out. We help them spec designs for residential and commercial projects. I help them liaise with our engineering team to make sure that they're meeting all standards and codes for all the designs that we're putting together for them. and yeah, help them kind of win bids and be competitive in the marketplace. And then of course providing all the equipment that comes along with solar, so all your main components. We do specialize only in photovoltaics. We don't really expand outside of PV. But yeah, so we kind of help installers with all of their projects, and we do focus on the training aspect as well, which is very important. So like I said, there's 195 new installers in Alberta right now. That's a huge jump over the past few years. So helping them understand industry best practices and standards for installations and code rules and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, and what kind of...
They're actually our first supplier in Edmonton when we started. We opened up a solar division in 2009. They're actually the first guys we started to buy from because there wasn't anybody here. So when Doug at the time flew out, they were like, we're looking for installers. We don't have anybody here. They didn't have an office yet. No. So yeah, so that was like nine years ago.
So what kind of training did you have before this that applies to the job? How about that?
Yeah, so I did a BCom at U of A. Aside from that, I used to be in the oil and gas industry. Most of my experience was sales focused. In terms of electrical or PV experience, I had zilch. Luckily, HES is a pretty knowledgeable company. They've got guys that have been in the industry for 20, 25 years, so there's a lot of internal resources that I was able to leverage to learn quite quickly and get up to speed on all the different products and services that are available today. So, but the industry happens to change about every 6 months, so there's a lot of continual learning that goes on there. There's tons of resources available online as well. So that was one of the best places to find out about new things happening and looking at different markets that are of course more developed, like the U.S. and Australia, and trying to figure out what's that next step, what's that newest product that's coming out that people seem to be really excited about. Yeah, and what about you guys? You in the next 12 months, are you looking at expansion? Yeah, like Alex mentioned, solar is fairly seasonal. We do pick up usually in the springtime, especially on the warehouse side. I know we've been recently hired an alternative energy student to work out of our new Calgary shop. So they're going to be coming on board in I think about a week or so. But yeah, I know looking to hire on the warehouse side and potentially on the sales side as well. Within the next, I'd say, 6 months. So warehouse job and also sales. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right on. But yeah, like we do tend to also hire from within a little bit. So I look at our national sales manager, and he used to be in the warehouse as well. So there's lots of room for growth in the company. Oh, nice. Great. Thanks, Lee. Hi, Stephanie.
Hey, Rob.
So, Stephanie Carter. 2006, Stephanie Carter turned her private war on waste and toxins into her profession. Taking on the challenge of the greening the building industry by founding a company called EcoAmmo, Sustainable Consulting. Today, EcoAmmo offers a diverse set of key services geared toward making sustainability easy, understandable, and accessible for everyone. With LEED, Green Globes, Living Building Challenge, and Net Zero Energy, Stephanie and her team have facilitated large and small projects. Stephanie's been honored several times in her community by being chosen as part of the Green Solution by Unlimited Magazine in 2008. As a mover and shaker, these are quotes, by Alberta Construction Magazine in 2008. As a cover story for Avenue Magazine in 2011, and as one of the, quote, top 50 graduates in the past 50 years from NAIT. So, hi Stephanie. So let's talk a little bit about what your job looks like. What do you do every day?
Well, Rob and I share an office, and so we see each other a lot, and he asked me if I wanted to be on the panel, and I thought, interesting, okay. I'm not a solar installer. I'm not anything really directly related to solar, but I am indirectly related to it because what we do is the entire building. We make the entire building efficient from design, construction, and then operations. And part of that is, especially in our field, which is a niche in the forefront of the industry, so zero carbon, net zero, any kind of cutting edge program system, that's where our niche is. And so, of course, a lot of times solar's on our project. And you have to look at the whole building as building science. Everything is an interplay in each other. Sometimes, you just want to put solar on top of the building, and that's fine, but you really want to look at the consumption of the building and reduce as much as possible. And so our team works together with others to do that, and in order to try to achieve things like net zero energy. And really, what we do is project management. So we'll project manage any project. Our goal is to, I guess, our passion or purpose is to transition the world towards sustainability. So it can be, again, on the design side, we work with architects, engineers, owners, universities, anybody on that side. And then we also work with the contractors and then building managers too. Yeah, basically it's project management.
Yeah. So you strike me as someone who's founded your own company, right? So what was life like before that? What kind of tools did you bring to that?
I'm trained in interior design and architecture, and I went out and started to work in the field for about 5 years, and then realized that my career didn't really align with my values because there's a lot of waste, there's a lot of products and materials that have known carcinogens. A lot of that I wanted to do something about it, but at the time there was no associations, well, not a lot of them anyway, that would help guide me to change my career. So I helped to start an association for the Canada Green Building Council, which offers different rating systems like LEED, if you have heard of that before. And yeah, I went back to NAIT to actually guest lecture to help instill some sustainability in the courses, because when I went, there was none. So it was, like you guys, it was just learning as you go. Just the more and more you do this work, especially things like energy modeling, the more you get to know the little tricks of the trade or experiences that help provide a more valuable service for clients. So you learn on the job.
And what's the next 12 months look like for EcoAmmo?
Well, being in the industry for 11 years as EcoAmmo, we've had really slow, steady growth, and that's kind of how sustainability is. Mm-hmm. But last year, with the code being implemented, the energy code, that's kind of really taken off. So if anybody actually is interested in things like energy modeling, both residential and commercial projects require buildings to meet the energy code, and you can do that through prescriptive or performance paths, so one through energy modeling and one through actually specifying specific materials and products that meet the code. And that is a really growing industry because every single building has to meet it. So if that's something of interest for you. For us, we are continuing to slow, steady growth. We just do organic growth when is needed. We're really passionate about being effective with our people and their time use. If anybody knows the concept of lean manufacturing, we apply it to our business. And so, yeah, we continue to have slow, steady growth because our service is the relationship building. It's the customer service. That's what project management is. And so it takes about 3 years to train somebody because they can't go to school to learn what we do. So we have to hire them for their personality, their experience, who they are as a person, and then train them. And so it takes about 3 years before somebody is really knowledgeable and can take projects all the way through on their own. So we have to grow at that pace.
So you're doing a lot of in-house training?
Yep. We have a really great in-house training.
Wonderful. And how many people in EcoAmmo? 8?
Yeah, about 8.
8, right on. Okay, so if we could pass the mic to Adam here. So Adam Eniac is the Director of Operations for Kuby Renewable Energy, an Edmonton-based solar power engineering, procurement, and construction firm. Through Kuby Energy, Adam develops, engineers, and manages residential and commercial solar PV energy storage projects, PV and energy storage projects throughout Western and Northern Canada. Adam holds a degree in mining engineering from the University of Alberta and has been in the solar industry since 2015. Okay, hi Adam. So, what's your day look like? What's your position in your company?
Much like what Alex was saying, as a business owner, every day is something completely different. So there's no, set schedule, and usually when there is, it gets thrown out very quickly after the massive phone calls and emails come in, and everything gets turned sideways. So every day is a new adventure. One day it could be just doing, commercial PV designs and prepping projects. The next day it could be just managing the projects we have on the go right now. The next day it could be researching people to hire and different technologies we want to use. Day-to-day financials, accounts payable, receivable, all that fun stuff. Marketing, pretty much anything and everything that goes into running a business. It's every day something new. So,
yeah. But specifically, you do quite a bit of the design work.
Specifically, I do a lot of the design work here. We have one other engineer that helps me, so I oversee that side of things for sure.
So where did you get your training for your design work?
Basically, before this, I knew nothing about solar. So as was mentioned earlier, I got a degree in mining engineering, and now I engineer solar PV systems. So in the energy world, it's a complete 180, but it worked out really well. So I guess a lot of skills that I learned in the mining engineering program, they did overlap, mostly through just general engineering, time management, project management skills, CAD work, that kind of thing. Then when I started this company with my partner, basically I needed to know how to do it all. So one of the first steps I took was taking the CISA PV design course, and that gave me a really good basis for how it ties in, how everything works together. And obviously it's not going to answer everything under the sun, but it answered a lot of base questions, and then from there I had the knowledge to kind of figure out what I need to install systems that people are asking for.
And how many employees does Kuby Energy have?
Right now there's 9 of us.
So you jumped into the industry 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and you have a company that hires 9 people.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for coming. All right. So what was the other question? There's a third question. Yeah.
Are we hiring?
Yeah.
Yes, we are. So we're planning on really scaling up. We want to be one of the major companies, not just in Alberta, but in Canada. So in the next 12 months, we're probably going to hire another 6 to 12 people. These people are mostly going to be electricians to do our installations. But then on top of that, we're going to be looking for some technical salespeople that can, help us win more jobs, essentially. Maybe another engineer, maybe another project manager, someone with administrative experience, possibly someone with marketing experience. So there's no one set person that we're looking for, but if you're versatile, if you're really passionate, if you have a skill set that would fit well with us, like what was just mentioned, if you have a good personality that we think we can give you the on-site basics. It's not hard there, but you have to have a good attitude about it that we can grow with you.
Great. Good. Here, why don't you take this mic? Give that one to that table. Yeah, fresh mic for you. Okay. David Dickey.
Hi.
Hello. All right.
That's I paid them. They're going to get bonus marks. Those are my students, just so you know.
Yeah.
Shout out to them.
Anyway, I emailed all these panelists in advance, and I gave them some homework. I asked them to send me a bio, and David sent me, I don't know, maybe it's 2 lines. I'm not even sure they were full sentences with periods.
Point form. Point form. Yeah.
So, but he's a good PV instructor, I've been told. Anyway, David is a professional mechanical engineer certified solar professional trainer from Solar Energy International. Currently instructing at the Alternative Energy Technologist program at NAIT, teaching solar, wind, and energy storage courses. So you got to fill in the rest. So what's your job look like?
Oh yeah, what's my, okay, that I can fill in. Yeah, so I wake up early every morning, sleep deprived, and I head into work. No, yeah, so I pretty much spend half my time instructing. The exciting courses are the ones that we already listed. Solar, so there's the basic solar where we do solar electric, solar thermal, and some off-grid. And then there's an advanced solar course where we do advanced design and commissioning and stuff like that. I also teach the labs that go along with this stuff, so we get our students exposed to some hands-on stuff. So yeah, as an engineer, that hands-on stuff, never is always exciting the first couple of rounds, but it's good and important. Then yeah, like you've mentioned before, at our program, it's not just about solar. We teach wind and energy and storage, and pretty much get our students through the first year of electrical trades. Yeah, and then, I just want to plug the rest of this stuff because they were talking about diversification, and that's really important, is that we're teaching some business, and we teach life cycle assessment, bio. I always balk at biology because I don't know anything about it. Yeah, anyway, so that's half my day, and the other half of my day is just madly struggling to keep up with the marking and keeping current, because this industry is changing incredibly fast. We've been running the program, this is our 6th year now, and every single year my class has changed. Every single year my notes have changed. And I can't even keep up. Half the time it's my students coming to me with articles saying, hey, have you seen this new technology? I think it's going to be the next revolutionary thing in the industry. And I'm looking at them going, yeah, that's a perpetual motion machine. That's not going to do it. But I still appreciate that they're always bringing they're holding me accountable to staying current. So that's kind of my struggle every day.
So what kind of training prepared you for this? I know you were worked in the oil and gas industry as an engineer.
Yeah, I was a design engineer for oil and gas, because that's what there was in Alberta 10 years ago or so. Yeah, I just was never happy, never satisfied, hated my job, actually, as a matter of fact. And then just got an opportunity when we were hiring at NAIT, starting the program, and we had Rob here teach a part of our solar course, but Rob is a very busy guy, and so we needed somebody else to teach, and I just got lucky. Honestly, when we were looking for work, looking for instructors, there were no real experts like we talked about. Everybody had to be self-taught, and but I love it, and that kind of helped, I guess, get me the job. Then, engineering background, that helps, of course, with the technical side of things, but then went on, we did a whole bunch of research, self-taught, but then we also went out and found some credible organizations like Solar Energy International. We went there out of Colorado. A bunch of us took pretty much every single course that they offer. I can't vouch for them enough. They're an incredible program with incredible people. And what you realize very quickly in this industry is it's full of amazing individuals, a community of people, because again, it's a bit lean. We're not all filthy rich, so we have to love it. And so there's some really great people in this industry, and SCI just chock full of them.
So the rumor is that the NAIT program is expanding.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So you got any jobs in there?
There actually are. I'm actually really excited to say that our program is expanding. We are doubling. So there's another intake of about 25 to 28 students in the winter term, and we'll have a new intake every fall and every winter. With that, we can't possibly teach any more courses. Our workload's already pretty high. So we're hiring. We just finished interviews for one instructor to help us come winter term. But I think the idea is in the next 2 years, we're going to hire 2 more instructors. And we also need a lab tech. If any of you know of the legendary Timothy Matthews, who pretty much holds everything together at NAIT, you got to fill his shoes. Good luck. Yeah, right? Even Rob knows the legendary Tim Matthews. But can I talk about the job description?
Yeah, let her
Okay,
rip.
so what are we looking for?
This is the place.
Yeah. Again, it's even though it's 6 years later, there's still not a lot of experts out there. But we are really trying to aim for experience. But that's still, everything is, has its strengths and weaknesses. We have PhDs, we have masters, we have professional engineers. And so we don't really care about accreditation anymore. We care about, can you teach? Are you the right fit? Do you have the right personality? Are you going to survive on 3-4 hours of sleep every night? Yeah, can you help Tim clean off the solar modules on the roof? Yeah, that kind of stuff. So I just would encourage you that if you're interested, maybe you have to have a degree of some kind, but if you're interested, take the interview. It doesn't hurt, because we are just looking for good people. Like everybody said here, we're looking for the right fit, the right people. And so, yeah, you can learn everything. I mean, it would help to have some teaching experience and help to have a little bit of technical experience. And if you maybe don't have the degree, there's always the technologist job. So you don't need to have a degree for that. You could just be super excited about solar and you have some hand skills and you're not afraid of learning. Tim Matthews, our technician, I don't even know what his background is. He built all-terrain vehicles. Heavy machinery, building all-terrain vehicles essentially from scratch with his bare hands. But he knows the most out of everybody in our program because he supports every single instructor. So if that intrigues you, if you like breadth and you love learning and getting your hands on things, maybe the technician job is the right one for you.
All right. I had a job teaching at NAIT for a while in their program, and it's a lot of work, just to warn you. But an amazing team to work with, really. Yeah. Great, thank you. Wonderful. April, hi.
Hello.
So April was with us last year, and she gave such a great performance, we asked her to come back. Anyway.
No pressure.
What's that?
No pressure.
Oh, no pressure, yeah, right. All right, April Hart, after leaving the retail industry with 15 years of management experience, April joined Great Canadian Solar as an electrical apprentice. During her 3 years working at Great Canadian Solar, she's installed 5 megawatts of solar capacity. So remember we were talking about 20 megawatts, took us 30 years to get 20 megawatts anyway. She's talking about 5 megawatts here, right? So she's had her hands on a lot of solar modules. Her role also includes the position of safety advisor, and some of her career highlights include the Mosaic Center project, 213 kilowatts, Leduc Operations Building, 630 kilowatts, Leduc Recreation Center, 1.14 megawatts, Camrose and Canna Recreation Center, 1 megawatt, Simmons Londonderry Mall, 650 kilowatts, and most recently a 550 kilowatt system at the J.G. O'Donoghue Building. Great, thank you for coming.
Yeah, you bet.
So let us in on what your day looks like. And
Yes.
yeah, it sounds like you wear 2 hats. You do installation, but you also are a safety officer.
I am, for sure, yes. So I have the position of lead installer for Great Canadian Solar, as well as being the safety advisor for the company as well. So basically on the installation portion, I am responsible for coordinating with the install crew and ensuring everyone is on task and ready for the day. And then also obviously hands-on for myself as well in constructing our solar arrays and everything from racking to placing modules to wiring inverters, anything. And then on the safety advisor side, I ensure that we are keeping up with our safety protocols. We're just recently got our core certification for the company, so obviously that's a huge thing for us to ensure that we are on par with our health and safety manual on our program there. So that's what we do. That's what I do on a day-to-day basis. I think, like all of you have said, things change so much. No project is the same. No day is the same, really. The biggest thing is we just, start our day in the morning and figure out what project we're doing for the day, and load up our trucks and trailers and head out and install our arrays.
So you've been in retail for quite a while.
I was, yeah.
It sounds like you entered a new profession that had almost nothing to do with your previous profession. So
That's correct.
what kind of skills did you bring to your new profession, or did you just start from blank?
Yeah, I was like most of us here on the panel. I had no experience in construction whatsoever. I was very passionate about the solar industry and wanted to learn more about it and get into it and make a career change. And I wanted to do something that made a difference and what I was going to be proud of doing. So I was lucky enough to be able to meet with the owner of our company and get hired on there. But honestly, there's some people in this room that have taught me everything I know about what we do. So it was not much training, but I am an electrical apprentice, so I do my training every year at NAIT.
And Great Canadian Solar, who you work for, how big a company is it, and will there be expansions over the coming year, do you think?
Yeah, for sure. Currently, we're sitting at about 15, 16 people. In our peak in the summertime, we were up around 20, 22 or so. But again, seasonally, things change. So as of spring, summer next year, we'll definitely be looking to hire installers, which will be apprentices. But again, I was lucky enough to do my whole apprenticeship with Great Canadian, so there's that opportunity too, as well as foremen and construction managers and things like that. So lots of growth.
So do you think it'll mainly be apprentices, or will it be full electricians?
Journeyman, master electricians as well to run crews. Absolutely.
Got it. Righto. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, Brian. So, Brian Crest is the Telecom and Transmission Capital Maintenance Engineering Manager for ATCO Electric. Brian developed ATCO's solar PV engineering team that designs grid-connected solar PV systems for ATCO customers. Currently, his job includes leading multidiscipline engineering teams to provide off-grid solar PV lithium-ion battery solutions to power ATCO Electric telecom sites. The multidiscipline team is also responsible for introducing large-scale solar PV and energy storage in remote communities that are currently powered by 100% diesel. He's also leading ATCO Electric's lithium battery research initiatives. So, welcome. Maybe talk a little bit about your position. Sounds like there's a lot to it.
I rely on really good people, if I was to be really honest. Right now, I'm a facilitator. I mean, my background is engineering, but I find people within the company who are passionate about this, and I dig it out of them and steer a vision to them. But I'd be lost without these people on that. So, kind of like you said right now, if I'm not looking after the telecom engineering group or capital maintenance, there's the work on the lithium battery research. It's really cool stuff. So for any of those of you who have a telecom background, you guys will understand this. Everything changes in 18 months. You're out of date in 18 months. This is what this industry is like. So it's a real adrenaline rush when you think about it. It's a white-knuckle ride, but it is cool. It is fun. So we're always learning what is the latest stuff in lithium battery technology. What are the battery management systems? How hard can you push them? And then when we look in our areas as a user, not a seller, but as a user within our own asset base, what can we do in the communities that we run diesel generation on? One project right now is really cool because we found it is more economical to everybody in Alberta for us to put hundreds of kilowatts of solar in than to extend a diesel tank farm. and it gives everybody a better deal. You know, so you get to wear that hat of being a user, and then you'll also put your hat on of leading design groups to design competitive systems. So it's good if you're schizophrenic. Yeah.
Okay, good. So you're hiring schizophrenics, is it?
Schizophrenic engineers. So anybody who can identify with Sheldon Cooper off of Big Bang. Yeah, no, it helps.
Okay, it is a wild ride. So what kind of things brought you to this? What kind of training did you have that's applicable to your job now, if any?
Oh, you know, I've got the same story as everybody else here. I had no formal training.
Yeah.
What got us into it is we were actually doing a microwave radio project, building some new substations, and we had a telecom site in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And we put diesel in to get power in because there was no distribution line, and things just happened to change enough that solar and lithium batteries were the best. My training? Anybody here that represents NAIT, I owe you so many beers, you guys can't imagine. NAIT has been a key source of knowledge even for building up the people in our company.
Yeah.
That, and like everybody is saying, you're in an industry where you are committing yourself to doing, realistically, I would say an hour of reading a night, because it is changing that fast on there. So self-taught, and thank God for NAIT. That's all I can say.
Yeah, right on. So what kind of jobs are opening up in ATCO?
So ours are more on the engineering side. I mean, what we've had to learn is what are we good at and what are we not good at. Because if we think we're good at everything, we're fooling ourselves on that. So we are good on engineering, and we are good on understanding the AC waveform. What does it look like on the distribution line? On the flip side, what we look at, and what's been successful developing relationships and always looking at more, is reaching out to the communities or to the businesses that know how to physically handle this stuff. Because it is, I would say it's an art that takes years of practice to learn what is the most meticulous and most efficient way to handle that one piece of material 10,000 times. You know, so we've learned that the industry, people sitting at the table here, are much better at that than we could ever hope to be on that. So engineering for us, hoping people like here keep on growing so we can talk.
Very good. All right, well, that kind of introduces you to these folks. Let's see, is Daniel here or Leon? Maybe somebody grab this mic and take it out into the, set it up there. That'd be great. So it sounds like some common themes here. It sounds like there's a lot of passion. It sounds like there's a lot of courage. Sounds like there's a lot of self-taught going on. Sounds like there's a lot of continuing education going on. And this is probably pretty accurately representing what has been happening in the industry. We used to tell the students at NAIT, it's not about finding a company to work for. It might be about starting your own company and just getting a vision together and going for it. But let me just, I want to open up to the audience questions, but let me just throw one more at you. So how many people in this panel took a pay cut when you got into the renewable energy industry? Okay, this is the guy you want to work for, right? Okay.
If I did more hours for the same amount of pay. Okay.
All right. So he's in the club, yeah. Okay, so please offer your questions to these resources we've got here. Yeah, come up to the microphone, because we are, this is a webinar, it's going out just to intimidate you, you know. Although I'm not sure with our rudimentary setup whether you can be seen on the webinar, so can wear whatever you want, the mic.
All right, I really hate to go first, but I'm really curious. So with a technical sales background, working in tech, I work with a lot of really, really smart people, and I see a lot of big brains and a lot of passion in the room. So from a sales perspective and a marketing perspective, what are some of the barriers to implementing an effective and aggressive growth strategy for your businesses right now? Like, what's holding the market back from that catalyst?
How much does it cost?
Yeah. So is it an economics thing?
Yeah.
Like just the return on the investment, the ROI?
Yeah, definitely. For the last 11 years is how much does it cost? And only now is there programs with the different levels of government to support it, and the code coming in, and then for us anyway, the governments are mandating different rating systems that they have to follow, so all of that helps, but it's always about money.
Is it still pretty digestible for the average person to get information from you about in a very easy to understand platform, what that math works out to be and how they can access it? Like, do we have good self-support resources for that?
It's a lot easier now, definitely, to get that information.
Yeah, I'd say there's, within the PV industry specifically, there's a high customer acquisition cost, which comes from lack of knowledge and understanding of PV systems, especially on the cost side, but also on the technological side, because they don't really understand sometimes what you're presenting them, and a lot of people present them with a lot of information all at once, and it's not really digestible. Mm-hmm. So there's that awareness of what a system is, and there's just not a large penetration of PV in Canada, or especially in Alberta right now, so it's hard to sell something that's, you know, a very new technology that people don't fully grasp.
Absolutely. Thank you.
If you have questions, just get up beside the mic in line there.
I'm just wondering if anybody knows of the company Solar City. You guys familiar with this company? Okay. So Solar City installs solar panels on residents, and the residents are charged a usage on those solar panels, and that power is sold back to the grid. Is there any sort of I don't know, banking resource in Alberta that would facilitate the install of solar panels on residential properties?
Yes. Yeah, there's system financing options. Definitely, you know, I'm sure we're not the only ones that offer system financing, but there's definitely creative models out there that will help the average homeowner not have to plop down $30,000 right away.
And you can rent, you can lease to own systems too, so there's different models specifically for solar.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but the City of Edmonton is working on PACE setup, which is basically you take out the money on your property taxes. So it hasn't happened yet, but they're working pretty heavily on it. Don Iverson's pretty in love with solar, so hopefully that comes through, and then it'll be a lot more stable.
That guy in the back there, Lee Bond, is working on that.
Is there any provincial subsidies for installing solar panels?
Yeah, there's some very large subsidies right now. The biggest one is the Alberta Residential and Commercial Solar Program. So this will give a homeowner 30%, up to 30% off of their solar PV system, and a business 25%.
So I don't know if Lee wants to speak about PACE at all. I think there's been a breakthrough with PACE today or something. The latest news. I won't generally call people up to the microphone, so don't worry about it.
Thanks, David. David is right. The City of Edmonton is working on rolling out a PACE program, but we're at a state where the legislation has to be changed first. Part 10, Division 7, Clause 384, 14 words. It takes 2 years. We're promised that it'll be done by the end of the spring sitting, maybe even in this fall sitting. And once that is done, then property assessed clean energy will be a reality. If you want to know more, go to paceab.green. Today, what Rob is mentioning is we did get some funding today to move the whole PACE initiative forward. We've been working at it as volunteers for about 2 years. So.
Thanks, Lee.
This is a little bit more directed towards, I guess, the NAIT program itself. I noticed a lot of it was geared towards, like, just in general, alternative energy. Is there anything about manufacturing solar or wind or any other type of products, or is it mainly focused on just what it is?
Yeah, well, no. Short answer, no for manufacturing. There really isn't much in the Alberta market for manufacturing. If there were jobs, we'd be doing it, because NAIT is responsible to the workforce in Alberta and the job demand in Alberta. So that was one of the reasons why we didn't go down that vein. We talk about design and manufacturing in class just because it, enriches your understanding and things like that. But no, we don't teach directly to it.
Is there any reason in particular why Alberta hasn't been able to get anything to manufacture, or any hurdles?
How's the oil doing right now?
Fair.
The challenge with Alberta is our cost of labor. We're one of the highest cost provinces when it comes to labor because of our shortages. Primarily has been tied historically to the cycles of oil and gas, right? So as a result of it, we can't compete with global countries and global companies that are typically some shape or form directly and indirectly subsidized, government or privately, right? So what ends up happening by the time you add the cost to produce a product from raw to completion here, why do we buy our apples from China, right? We find that quite often it's cheaper to import them here, which is sad if you think about it. I think Alberta is a well-positioned province because of the nature and the diversity of our economy. We actually have the skill sets here, but our labor and quite often the lack of support for the industry just make it prohibitive in the market, right? So I actually would love to see a manufacturing sector in Alberta. I think it'd be a great diversification play for the province because we're well positioned, transportation, access to knowledge, engineering teams, technical resources, all these things, right? It's just been a sector historically not developed, so.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I was wondering, I know you all said that there were positions generally focusing in sales and in engineering, but are there any, do you see things developing in any of your companies or in the industry at large where there's a large demand for people with media backgrounds? So I'm a photographer and videographer, for instance, and I'm now trying to find opportunities within industries that I can support, and renewable energy is certainly one of those. Is there anything that you would say focuses, or is there a need for new development of media resources within the industry?
So yeah, I'd like to touch on what I'd like to, while I answer the question, I want you guys to think about Grid 2.0. What does power flow look like 5 years from now? Today we're used to power flow from the generation system down the transmission to the distribution to the load. We're starting to see a little bit of power flow from the PV back to the system, but 5 years from now, we believe you're going to have lots of localized energy flow, localized energy storage, and people wanting to understand themselves what is their system doing. We have a term for it at ATCO, we call it prosumers. It's like people are going to want the apps. What's going on in my house? How can I trade with other people? We want to start doing, can I do by using, I don't want to call it Bitcoin, but there's one of you guys don't know BitCurrency or blockchain technology. How can people start trading energy back and forth? You know, because I think there's going to be a wholesale revolution in how power moves from people to people, and it is going to need more than just the energy storage of solar. It is going to need the people who understand applications development, who understand promotional materials. I think it's going to be really exciting, but it is going to need a lot of people from a variety.
I have a follow-up question after that. With regard to this new idea of trading storage of power and whatnot that you're talking about, when you're talking about promotions, would these be developments like in-house, or would they be like hired out to contracts?
You know, I would see it being hired out. I mean, if there's anything that we've learned is we can't do it all. We're not good at everything. Seek out the people. But if you think about this, we're all here. We're selling a vision to everybody, not in Alberta or Canada, but to the world.
Okay.
Without that media type communications, how do you reach it? You know, so I think there's such a need to spread that vision. You know. Anyways, I'll stop there.
I would just second what he's saying, in that media and photography and videography and all that, it's going to play a huge role. Right now, I'd say it will be hired out, just on a contract basis, that kind of thing, but it's definitely something that's already coming up more and more.
Good.
A last thought on that. As you can see, in 10 years, the industry's grown a lot, but it's going to exponentially grow more. And so for us, not having experience or not, and just self-taught, it's like the Wild West. I see that the same thing for these apps and marketing and communication side. We're going to need that. And I mean, just start your own company, and if you got something good, then everybody will use it. You'll be the first.
Well, if any of you are looking...
Speak really loud.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If any of these companies are looking for people who are interested in promoting specifically the solar industry, I can give you my business card for my business that I just got into Edmonton, so I'm trying to get more people aware of what I'm doing. But my business is called HES Pictures. Primarily, it's an event photography and videography company, but I'm absolutely interested in doing things that promote renewable energy. I think that would be like a really good business and industry to get suited up next to. So if any of you are interested in contacting me for any particular need, whether it be like training videos or whatever, now if that's something that you guys are looking into, I would like to hear from any of you. So
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
This question is going more towards Brian with ATCO. Is the dude related to if it was a community looking at setting up a solar farm, and to what presented earlier about these companies like ATCO, Fortis, and the others that was on the list? They were looking at, I think, like 3 gigawatts of electricity, or some number that he was given up there. Is that number you guys were looking at to come from solar farms, or exactly how you were looking at that?
So what you saw on that table was what ATCO would be putting together as solar farms if ATCO was the developer and owner. Our total applications to ASO is 69 megawatts. You know, as a grid supplier, just like anybody else that would be coming in. That's what that number was on there.
Okay.
But that's one part of ATCO. The other part of ATCO is also a user for its own infrastructure.
Okay, if a community was looking at setting up a solar farm, would ATCO be looking at setting up like substations from that solar farm to the main transmission line?
We'd be looking at the same way as every other developer. What local infrastructures, electrical infrastructures, there for us to connect to? Because we have to have a level playing field. If we have to build a substation, the cost of that project has to bear the cost of that substation, just like anybody else, say when they're doing a 300 megawatt wind farm. If they need a substation, they pay for the cost of that. So, I mean, we're like everybody else, we're looking at where's the most economical place to put something that you can tie into the grid like everybody else.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we got 6 more questions. So we'll see what we can work in here. So we'll try to make them quick to fit in as many people as possible.
I'll be quick, but I want to introduce myself too, heck. Brendan Thompson with BJ Electric Supplies. So, of course...
Say it. You got to say it a little louder because the people in the back need to hear you.
Sure. Brendan Thompson with BJ Electric Supplies. So, of course, I only have questions for the installers. And, of course, the design firm. I wondered how many of your installations, maybe especially the commercial or any industrial installations, are being hard spec'd yet? Like, what percentage are you thinking? Or is it all just soft spec everything, whatever manufacturer can do it?
I've probably seen about 80% of all the projects in the city in the last 10 years, and solar, of course, being a big part of it. I can tell you initially there was no spec. Usually it's a couple of squares that don't even match up in reality to actual size of the solar modules. They kind of say panels go here, this many, this much power, installer figure out. That's kind of how it started out, and that's what usually a lot of renewable technologies. The onus ends up being typically on the installation firm quite often. As you know, schools are doing solar installations as part of their mandates and a lot of other projects. So it started out as a Wild West type of a loose spec. We're starting to see more of a transition towards some level of supplier participation in supply chain to say, hey, make them company XYZ modules or the following equivalent alternates. So we are starting to see that. From our experience, most local engineering firms, especially on the institutional level, typically, because it's a low bid tender process, quite often is the level of knowledge within those firms is very, very wide. So you might get, sometimes if you get lucky, you get a really great engineer, senior fella. He might actually have really good knowledge, like he spent time to research the system. He designed it well. It's a good, solid project. And quite often you might get some junior AT who's 3 months out of school, and he's basically, as he's speccing this stuff, he sort of says, what's going to work? And we get those a lot as well, right? So there is a range right now. I think it'd be great to have some local participation, not to make it exclusive, but to provide, product plus alternate acceptables. It would be good because they would start to standardize the industry a little bit more too, right? So.
Okay, thank you. Oops, go ahead.
I was going to say, we're predominantly in the commercial industry, and also we work a lot with government, and so it's almost always a performance spec.
Okay, next.
Can everyone hear me okay? Hi, my name's Ethan, first year student of the Alternative Energy Program. I just want to say thanks to the panel for coming out. The insight's been really great for myself, and I'm sure my classmates as well. My question is for you, Alex. You briefly just mentioned the project that you have going in the Westmount area. I grew up there my entire life, so I was super excited when you said that. I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit more about what's going on there, maybe some timelines.
Anybody? I think Peter spoke on this project a couple of sessions ago, didn't he, on the Westmount Internet?
He's going to be.
Oh, he's going
There's going to be a seminar.
I don't want to steal his thunder, right? So at the end of the day, we're just a project partner. Very fortunate to partner with Peter and his team on it. But I mean, in short, it's actually a really cool. I don't think it's quite publicly known project yet on the mass scale. You guys will probably hear more about it coming out over the next few months, next year or so. But I mean, in short, it's taken the concept of net zero and applying it on a community scale. It's actually a mini district energy system for all intents and purposes, similar to what Blatchford's kind of trying to do in a much smaller scale. It's 16 townhomes, one church, doing a shared energy system. It's a geothermal-based heating, cooling, ventilation type project. Peter pushed for basically a net zero design on the annual load, on the net annual load, so it includes all of your plug loads, heating, cooling, ventilation, basically everything, right? So the project just was able to achieve that at the design stage. We just finished commissioning it, I think. Church was done about a month ago, and townhouses just come online. And basically, it's fully powered by PV, so the power plant is 100% solar. I think it was how many kilowatts? I think it was a 118 kilowatt system, I believe, just off the top of my head. It's a sizable plant. fully fits the townhouses and church and does all the power supplies that run all the plug loads, all the geothermal heat pumps, all the HRVs, and runs basically full power supply. A really cool project. I mean, in their quality in the place is amazing. Like if you guys have ever been in a well-built net zero projects, whether it's Habitat Studios or somebody else's projects that have been successful, they're great places to be. Like they're healthy, they're easy to breathe in, they don't stink, they don't have like an old 40-year-old leakage problem, you don't have drafts. It's just they're very comfortable buildings, right? So I think it's just a better way to build stuff. So it's a cool project from that perspective. It tackles the affordability question as well, which is interesting because the job it actually tackles the affordable housing. One of the owners is the Right Home Housing Society, and that was their initiative. And kudos for them for pioneering that kind of a project in our city. So it's done. It passed all LEED permits, all inspections. I think it's just wrapping up some final items right now. And yeah, I mean, there'll be public tours and things like that coming online. I don't think it's been kind of announced yet per se, but keep an eye on it. Definitely worthwhile checking it out. Really cool project. Yeah, lots to see. So
thank you very much.
Yeah.
That particular project, which is very exciting, will be the subject of a seminar, part of this seminar series. I think it's in April, perhaps, or May.
Oh, that's what I see. It's something.
Yeah, it's coming up. This is a preview. Good. So we got 4 minutes. So
I'll make it quick.
All right.
I just wanted to say thanks for coming out. It was very nice. It was
Speak really loud.
It was nice to see all of you here and see some faces. I'm a recent graduate from the Construction Engineering Technology program at NAIT. A lot of you talked about net zero projects. I'm basically just wondering, like, what type of credentials would your businesses be looking for in regards to like hiring for project managers? Like, is there any speculation on credential specifics?
Nothing specifically. If you're, construction engineering tech, that would certainly fit the mold. You don't have to be, professional electrical engineer with X years experience by any means. Like, none of us here had experience when we joined the industry, so we all kind of realized that you can be really good from any background. So as long as you have some kind of base and the personality to build off of it, then you'll be good.
Thank you.
I just want to just quickly respond to that because we run into this as one of the learning curves. The PMP designation from PMI Institute, Project Management Institute internationally, is a really worthwhile training course for anybody that actually wants to pursue project management certifications. It's very detailed, it's very hard, but you learn so much in it. It gives you a formal couple letters after your name, but letters aside, it's a really good course. We've had a few folks that have taken it, and I would strongly recommend it if you are pursuing a career in that to supplement your knowledge base out of whatever background you're coming from.
Thanks, Alex.
Crystal ball time. Can I get a prediction or best guess from anyone on when there's been some larger micro projects spoke about here, but when could we expect penetration into the average consumer? As an average consumer, I would say most of my costs in a 45-year-old home are distribution costs. So what will a subsidy mean to me when in an old drafty house, still most of my costs are distribution costs? So all the subsidies in the world aren't really going to help me.
All right, that's the question. Brian's going to take it.
That's good. That's why I have ATCO on my T-shirt here, because I knew this was going to happen. No, this is really good, and I think what's going to be the tipping point is as this province goes through a decarbonization process. When we start taking coal-fired units offline and looking at bringing other units online, that costs money. I think what we're going to see is our energy costs, and this is just Brian's thing here. But as we go through that process of decarbonizing, I think other energy solutions are going to become more competitive at a residential basis. So does that help? Sorry? As other energy sources come on? Yeah, like for example, if you're going to shut down a coal thermal plant, are you looking at a gas-fired plant? You know, you look at the coal thermal plants, they've already, they're long, they've recovered a lot of their investment. If you're putting in a brand new gas-fired plant, you're looking at upfront costs initially, and as we've already seen in the States, when you're coming in on that initial capital outlay, you're going to start seeing, it'll drive energy prices higher, but it'll be linked to us decarbonizing or getting rid of the coal.
So we're a decade away from it being achievable, you think, in residential penetration?
My own vision, no. I think I think single-digit years.
Thank
I don't
you.
know if anybody else wants to
Yeah.
challenge me on that one, but I believe single-digit years.
We don't want to challenge you on that.
No?
Okay, we're going to take, I'll let Stephanie answer this in a second, but I just want to announce we'll take one more question because we're under some time constraints. I apologize for that. But
Just a really interesting talk by an economics expert. He thinks in 15 years we'll be totally on a solar energy industry. It's Tony Seba, and it's called Clean Disruption. It's on Google, or sorry, YouTube. Just look it up.
thank you. Okay, one more question. Yeah.
Good evening. Thanks for everyone on the panel. Question for Brian. Again, yeah. So my name is Randall Benson. I'm owner of GridWorks Energy Group, and we've been dealing with wire service providers for grid connection even well before the microgeneration regulation came into effect. So my question for you is, when you mentioned Grid 2.0, which we're all very excited for, by the way, how is ATCO, as a wire service provider, dealing with PV clustering and electric vehicle clustering for neighborhoods? Now, for example, you have a neighborhood on one transformer, 10 homes on one transformer, and 9 of those homes have PV systems, and 8 of those have EV charging infrastructure from 40 amps anywhere to 80 amps.
Yep.
So who's going to pay for that infrastructure that on the distribution side? Is it the last one in? Or how are you guys dealing with this?
So there's 2 ways we're dealing with this. Number one is, I mean, we have to work within the existing regulatory rules. We don't get to change those.
Of course.
However, when those changes eventually come, because I believe society is going to ask for it, today we are already investing our own money studying those things. Yeah. For example, earlier, I think it's either we announced it earlier this week or they turned them on. We commissioned 3 EV charger stations between Edmonton and Calgary. There are some Canadian Tires, but it was to understand exactly what you're getting at. When somebody's connecting their vehicle and they want that half-hour charge, that's going to do some real wild stuff to the current demands. Yep. If you're in a spot where it's localized, this is where you start looking at how critical is local energy storage within a subdivision level. Can I get everybody's solar from their roofs and meet that peak demand to charge the cars without doing an upwires rebuild? You know, so we have to work within the regulatory, but we're spending money now to learn what the impact is going to be so we can prepare ourselves for it.
So now are you guys looking at vehicle to grid, perhaps?
Vehicle to grid as in?
Using the car as the storage system as well.
Not right now. Our biggest concern is how do we figure out when everybody comes home at 5:30 to 6:30 and puts their vehicle on that half-hour charge on that one port distribution feeder. Oh, yeah. That's our main concern right now.
Thanks, Brian.
Time of use fee structure will help you. Okay.